Next episode here is with my friend Sean. So, Sean, welcome in.
Hey,
Let's go ahead and talk about you and introduce you to some of our guests because I know it's first time doing a podcast, so very exciting. Thank you for being here with us. So,
I appreciate you having me.
welcome in.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit. Cool.
I feel like a relative newcomer to the Houston bar scene, as well as just, really kind of diving into Houston's bar culture, restaurant culture as a whole. I think comparatively speaking to a lot of our peers, like I haven't nearly been doing this as long as some of the veterans have. But the experiences that I've had up until this point have really just been incredible. I think everyone's really welcomed you as a family, and I think that back then, now, like you can really feel like the hospitality within everybody and everything, right?
Okay. Yeah. So, where did you start? I know you've been a bartender for a bit, right? A couple years.
I've been a bartender. I bartended for, I actually really didn't even bartend for that long before I moved directly into management. Yeah.
Okay. How long were you a bartender?
So I got my first bartending job ever in a little cocktail bar out in Sugarland. The big focus was like craft cocktails, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights were a little clubby, so to speak, but still kind of maintaining like the craft cocktail side of it.
Okay.
So I bartended there for 13 months, and then I made my transition to Boheme, and I feel like that's when I really kind of like stepped into the Houston scene, right? I feel like with a lot of our like veteran friends, everyone's like it's almost like everyone's done a stint at Boheme at some point in time.
Yeah.
And it was just such a wonderful experience, you know what I mean? I was at Boheme for 3 or 4 months before I took on the bar manager position at Weights and Measures.
Okay.
And then Weights and Measures for I don't even think a full year, man.
Yeah.
I think like 10, 11 months. And then that's when I stepped into the bar manager / beverage director role at A-Life Hospitality.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I opened Lost and Found for that, and then I was around for camp, and then eventually took over both Prospects, and then Drip, helped do a little bit of the groundwork for Bungalow, but I wasn't a part of the actual opening. And then from there, that's when I kind of branched off and did Levels with my sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Were you always a bartender? When did you start in the industry? Did you serve or anything like that?
I waited tables at the Marriott Marquis.
Okay.
So I think I graduated from U of H and took a trip home to China for about a month. And when I came back, just felt a little lost. Didn't really want to do anything in what I majored in. And a buddy of mine was like, "Hey man, just come wait tables. You know what I mean? Kill a little bit of time, make a little bit of money, just have fun with it." And I said, "Okay." And he was like, "Hey man, this is how they're gonna interview you. This is what they're gonna want to hear. Best of luck." And I was like, "Okay, heard that, chef." And started waiting tables at Biggio's, and it was really cool. I really, really, really enjoyed working at Marriott a lot. Yeah.
And you opened the hotel?
I was not a part of the opening team, unfortunately. I was the second round of hires.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I joined in maybe 8 or 9 months in after the hotel opened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. What was it like working for corporate hotel like Marriott?
Honestly, I think back then when I was just a kid who didn't understand anything, it felt a little suffocating. But I think nowadays when I'm looking back and just kind of really evaluating like, the benefits, and I mean the benefits just for hourly employees, right? Like, I was a server and they did 401k contributions. Like that's incredible, right? For what we do. Nowadays looking back, hey man, just follow the rules, be an adult, everyone's here to work. Yes, it's hospitality, and it's usually more of like a lax atmosphere with things, but still a job.
Yeah.
Still corporate. Don't be dumb, right? Yeah.
For sure. I started with Marriott as well. I worked at the JW for a while.
Oh, yeah?
And worked in San Antonio, so I know that culture.
Yeah.
Marriott culture is very tight-knit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So you bartended for a couple months, then you got into the bar manager role at Boheme, and then you went into a bigger role with the group. So you've been in Houston for how many years?
So I grew up in Stafford.
Okay.
But very sheltered. Never really, pushed the boundaries of like being uncomfortable, like push my comfort levels with anything.
Yeah.
I can genuinely say that I probably did not explore Houston until I started working at Boheme. So that was probably when I was, 20, 22, 23, you know what I mean? And again, I think that with Sugarland, it was just a very closed community back then, right? Like, you know, we all just drank at whatever else was in Sugarland, and we all just kind of hung out with each other. But then stepping out of that and taking that job in Midtown, like, it was just this, I mean, a whole new world, right? Like, truly and wholly, in that sense. Going to Lola's for the first time.
Yeah, Lola's Depot.
Yeah.
That place, for sure. So, talking a little bit about your tenure within the bar industry, what have you seen kind of as a trend? If you started from where you started to where you are now, what are you seeing trend wise within Houston?
I, 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 I think it's almost kind of like weird to say this because I don't think my tenure has been that long, but I've already started to see some of like the cocktail trends kind of like being recycled. Like I feel like maybe 10, 12 years ago, like the smoked old fashioned was like really hot, right? Like when I was at Sugar Refinery, however many years ago, you know, that was like our big signature thing, right? If it was a little slow on the floor that night, we would send out a couple to the regulars just something that way. Like the, somebody said this to me recently. What was it? The fajita effect.
Fajita effect.
The
Yes.
fajita effect.
Yes,
Yeah. And it's so crazy that like this many years later, it's the same thing again, right? So we used to make the cocktail and then pour it into like an old Blanton's bottle and then smoke the bottle. And then when you pour it table side, oh my God, is that a Blanton's bottle? And it's just all this great gimmick, right? Yeah. And then now you're starting to see the same things like with the smoke tops. I think the espresso martini trend is just I don't know what's keeping it alive, man. I thought for sure maybe like last year it was going to be Gone with the Wind. And then I started seeing people on Instagram and Twitter like shaving Parmesan on it. And I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But honestly, really like the biggest thing is just the non-alcohol cocktails. So when I ran the bar program at Weights and Measures, that was probably 8 years ago. That was when like the whole tequila craze really started kind of to take off, where it became like, you know, like the paleo diet and the keto diet and everything was very health conscious. And I feel like even back then there was already a little bit of attention in regards to like a non-alcoholic spirit, or not necessarily non-alcoholic spirits, but like non-alcoholic cocktails that weren't juice and soda or juice and ginger beer or whatever the case may be, right? So I think it's just really cool to see kind of like societally how we're all kind of taking our health a little bit more seriously. We're all kind of making an effort to move away from it, right? Yeah, it's fun, but not all the time, right? And I think more and more people are starting to kind of understand how it feels to be like the guy that's not drinking, right? You know, I stopped drinking for a little while, kind of in the middle of everything, and like it felt awkward, like being the guy who was at the bar trying to hang out with people who are industry related. Like, I'll have a tonic and 2 limes. It's like, cool. How many months are you sober, right? It's like 6, but that's not quite what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something we were talking about earlier on the last episode, was how being non-alcoholic can be awkward sometimes, but we're starting to move away from that as a industry where it's actually being embraced.
Yeah.
And people are starting to develop cocktail programs that have a
Absolutely.
party and any backing behind it, which is cool.
Yeah.
So talking a little bit about Bar Boheme, what kind of things did you do there? Were you seeing there when you were in your role?
So so Bar Boheme was a very quick, almost like intermission for me.
Okay.
I left Sugar Refinery kind of suddenly. And so Bar Boheme hired me on immediately, and I just started bartending. It wasn't anything crazy. I will say that I think that the way that Bar Boheme has always handled like their seasonal menu writing, I feel like everyone should do it that way. You know, hey, they tell all the bartenders, hey, everybody come up with 2, 3, 5, however many you want drinks, limit 5. And we're going to get together on this day, and we're all going to make our drinks in front of each other. No hurt feelings, just we're all going to talk about it. Oh, this is good, this is bad, this is why it's good, this is why it's bad, this is developmentally what we can do better. And from there, we chose what was going to move forward, right? Like, if it was pragmatic, if it made sense, you know, behind the bar during volume hours. And like that was like my first real sense of like camaraderie behind the bar, right? Because again, it wasn't a matter of like, oh, well, you know, I don't really like to drink, but I like him. I thought, who cares? You know, it's just come up with something else next season, no big deal. And it was a lot of community with it, which I really, really, really liked. Yeah.
And that's definitely an interesting area, especially there in Montrose. The demographic there is very different.
Yeah, for sure.
So talking about the other role you had as a beverage director within that group, so what kind of things did they have you work on while you were there? I know the concept is also a different market segment, so if we can talk a
Sure.
little bit about that, I think that'd be a good little
Yeah.
talking
So,
point.
taking on the role at A Life was, I think, very out of character for me. I think a lot of people. I was definitely on track with the whole craft cocktail scene. With Bar Bohem, with where I originated into Bar Bohem, and then into running the program at Weights and Measures. When I told people that I was like, "Oh, I'm going to take this position at A Life," they were like, "Why would you do that? It's clubs, it's high volume, it's not to say that there's no quality behind it, but just it's very off-brand for you." And honestly, I think I was a little disillusioned with the title of beverage director at 25 years old. And I said yes before I really understood what that title meant, right? And the responsibilities that it bears, and how much administrative work would go into it, and how much financial analysis, and like almost like a sense of like playing politics with like brands, and trying to make sure that everyone's happy. And it was a lot. So starting going into it, I didn't have my hands in prospect, because it was just, hey, this is a well-oiled machine. Worry about, we're trying to open Lost and Found. So I started off bar manager there, and then eventually they were like, hey, like, we know that you can do things behind the bar. We need you to take on some responsibilities. Front of house, floor manager, no problem. Did a lot of AGM responsibilities, and I think people don't acknowledge at what caliber these A Life guys operate at. It is insanity. Like, at the peak of Lost and Found, we were doing 250 a week, 60-40, like 60-40 food to booze. Like that's insane. That's insanity. When COVID hit and everything shut down, those guys immediately cooked up like the to go seafood, like for the neighborhood, and just always kept things going. You know what I mean? So I think that like just watching them like adapt to every situation, definitely gave me a sense of like situational awareness on how to handle things, whether it's like the day-to-day ops or like big picture stuff. And I think more so than anything else, like when you're operating at such a high caliber, like, saving 50 cents here or a dollar there, multiplied by 6,000, or multiplied by whatever number, it really, really, really like allows you to not necessarily trial and error, but like immediately have a sense of, hey, this is the financials matter so much, right? And every little thing matters so much. Like, the way that we present our bottle service menus, the way that we present, the cocktails, and who can give us the best buybacks, and who can do this and who can do that. And like, I think like I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. Like we developed all kinds of spreadsheets, and just methods of like closing down the store, and just doing everything that was so crucial to what I feel like a lot of like business owners, restaurant owners, I mean, not now, but like always have just not prioritized.
Right.
The financials are everything. You know what I mean? Like, how could you possibly stay in business otherwise? Yeah, it was an experience unlike any other, and I literally would not trade that for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. We're gonna do a pause real quick. I heard a door. Okay. If you want to reset up there real quick, we can take a brief pause.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brought a little bit of everything just for the sake of like just a little bit of color in the background.
Very nice. Cool. Cool. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and segue into our next topic.
Okay.
All right. So, all right, Sean. So let's talk a little bit about bar and business life. So we know you own Levels, um, which is the syrups right here on the table now. What is your specific role with Levels? You're one of the partners, right?
Yeah, that's me,
Okay.
my sister.
You and your sister, cool. How long is I guess we'll talk about Levels here in a minute. But how long has Levels been around? Would you guys say?
So this September, will be coming on 3 years.
Okay, cool,
Yeah, 3 years.
awesome. So how has it been kind of transitioning from working for other people to working for yourself?
I think it's tough. I think that when you work for someone else, you immediately have a checklist, objectives. You know what I mean? Especially when I was back at like Marriott, it was very corporate. Very here's a checklist, do X, Y, and Z, right? And even with A Life, I was the person creating the checklists to then pass off to people to say, hey, do X, Y, and Z, right? And I think with this, it's not necessarily abstract, but it is a little bit more like, hey, what is the agenda for today, right? What are we going to get? What are we going to be doing today? I think that it is. I don't know how to.
I get you.
Yeah.
I got you. It's definitely like for me specifically, it's been quite a change working for other people to working for myself. I feel a little bit more freedom,
Yeah.
but there's also that unending worry about keeping funding in the account and keeping things going right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you didn't have to have that when we were working for other people.
Yeah, for sure.
So for me, it's very liberating. It's just you have to be aware that now you're working for yourself, and that means that you're always technically on the clock trying to make money.
Yeah,
for the
for
company
sure.
and keeping bills paid and keeping yourself paid and
Yeah.
keeping people you work that you have employed with you paid.
Yeah. I think that that's like really funny is that like we've all seen like the stuff on like social media where it's like, oh, like there's this disillusionment of it, I guess, of like, oh, like when you work for yourself you have all this like free time, and it's like you don't. Like I think easily once I left, like A Life was at the peak of things. I would say I was working 12, and then when I was working Lost and Found in camp was opening, like there was a couple of weeks where I was working like 20-hour days.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because now that like I think when we first started kind of doing things for ourselves, especially during like peak like market season, peak like retail stuff for us, it's like, yeah, this is still 12, 16 hours a day. You know what I mean? Just kind of just going all the time, going hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for sure, I mean, the end goal is for us to have some free time, but like once you're a startup, I mean, that
Yeah.
first 2, 3, 4, 5 years, however long it takes you to get to that financial stability, hopefully sooner rather than later,
Sure.
but you're just always going to be working. But eventually, the end goal is you'll have a foundation where you can step away for a little bit. You'll have a team in place where you can take some time off. But
Yeah.
that's just the reality of running something on your own, right?
For sure. When I was at A Life, I had a regional chef. He was the executive chef for Sambuca, and one of the big things that he always preached to me, I've gotten better about this over the years. Control freak, you know what I mean? Like I gotta have my hands on things. I gotta make sure I gotta hyper analyze. I gotta stay on top of everything. And he was the one that really kind of hounded it into me, like, hey, like if it only works when you're here, it does not work. Like you need to be able to step away. You need to be able to step back. You need to be able to put these systems into place and be able to pull back a little bit. Otherwise, dude, you're gonna kill yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I was also like when I first started in this role too, very controlling and like wanted to make sure I had everything kind of in place. But now, as I've gone through everything that I've gone through in my career, it's kind of been like I need to trust the people to do what they need to do and
Yeah.
kind of take a step back. And if I need to step back in and like reroute, I will.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think it's helpful. I think it's all about who you have working for you at
For
a certain
sure.
point. Like when you're working for yourself, cool, yeah. The only pressure is on yourself to
Yeah.
maintain your standards. But once you start bringing people in, that's when the metric changes a little bit.
Yeah.
So cool. So what is one of your favorite points of being an owner for a company? Favorite memories, favorite things that you get to do with Levels.
It's I don't know if I should be talking about this or not, but when I was looking over the questions, Schwan was like, hey, like, what are you going to say for this? And I was like, oh, man, like, I was actually going to kind of go into it and then just say whatever comes to mind at first. And I think what it's not necessarily like one specific memory, but like, something that Schwan and I have always said to each other was, hey, like we're enthusiastic about working with people who are enthusiastic about working with us, right? And it just makes things a lot easier. And like I understand that, like we both have a very firm understanding that like, hey, our product is a premium product. A lot of people are not going to use us. Like we're not trying to convey ourselves as a Monin or a finance call where, we want to be in everywhere. We don't, because we understand that the price point is high, and especially right now with the economy the way that it is, I get it, right? So we'll never try to overextend ourselves to a concept that quite frankly doesn't need it, So like, whenever I have these opportunities to like work with a concept who's again very enthusiastic about wanting to work with us, bringing us in to kind of help with like R&D for seasonal menus, or just honestly even asking for, or if I have a project and asking other people for a little bit of assistance, another viewpoint on things, like those moments are really, really, really special to me. I think that in an era where everything is like, oh, like how do we out Instagram garnish each other? That sense of like, oh, I mean, yeah, it looks really good, but how does the drink taste? And I think that there's not everywhere, not a sweeping statement by any means, but I see it as it's less and less of that, right? And I think that that's really sad, because this is like, it like what separates us from the culinary side of things, right? Like, you think about like some of these incredible like award-winning bars like the Aviary, or Please Don't Tell, Dead Rabbit Society, all those places. It's like truly and wholly like what separates them from just takes that little push into like the culinary space.
For sure. And we'll definitely talk about the culinary aspects of your syrups here shortly, but for sure, yeah, you're definitely culinary driven, which is exciting. Cool. Do you have any advice for anybody who's planning on starting their own business? Sorry, I laughed. I chuckled at myself. This question always makes me laugh.
This is the other one that I was like looking at where I was like, oh man, dude, I have no idea how to answer this. And then the answer that I finally kind of like came up with in my head, I was like, this is so lame. But honestly, truly, 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 it's don't give up. And you just have to stick with it. I think there's a lot of moments where like we were like, dude, like sales are down, or man, like we're having a really tough time kind of like cracking into the market. And like I think around the first maybe 6, 8, 9 months that we were kind of in business, there's a lot of time just kind of sitting around with like, okay, like what's next. And it was, I guess, like in a sense liberating, because coming off of like these crazy work hours, but then also like exactly what you were saying, like, oh my god, this is kind of horrifying. Like I really enjoy eating and paying rent. I think that there's a lot of moments where you have these incredibly banal like days where it doesn't feel like you're making progress, but that's okay. There's that whole saying where it's like, oh, Rome wasn't built in a day. Like that's true. And like you really need to keep that to heart and really, really stick with it. Like I genuinely believe that anyone can be successful with it, but it's just that it's that first step into the mastery, or the first step into like really kind of like, getting to a place of comfort. That's tough, man. Like that's really difficult. And again, so cheesy. I feel like I'm on a PBS special.
I mean, it's true though. Like you gotta celebrate. Like you are gonna fail at some point.
Yeah.
Right. And it just depends on how hard you're gonna fall.
Yeah.
Like you take the small fall, you're gonna fall, but you take the small wins.
Yeah.
And that's the only way. That's kind of how business runs. You kind of take the punches.
For sure.
And you learn from it, and you keep growing from there.
Exactly. So when we do like for our retail side, we do a lot of like farmers market pop-ups and this and that, and like every season we're like, oh man, these flavors are gonna be great, like we're gonna kill it this time. And every season it is people are always very into the flavors that we put together last minute.
Okay.
And every season we're just like, what is, like, how do we not know our clientele to this degree? I think this summertime was probably the first time ever where like we were like, okay, passion fruit vanilla, we thought about doing it last year, we're going to introduce it this year to the retail market, and like it's been a success. And so we're like, oh my god, finally, yes, like we got one, you know what I mean? Again, I think it's one of those things where you like exactly what we're saying is just that you just got to stick with it, you know what I mean?
Some things are gonna work, some things aren't.
Yeah.
Just gotta go with it. Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit now about Houston.
Okay.
and Houston bar scenes, and I think you've traveled a little bit, right?
A little.
A little bit,
Honestly, I
yeah. You
feel
kind of.
like if Schwan didn't push me to do it, then I would be far, far, far much worse about it.
So the question I've been asking everybody is, what do you think of the Houston food and beverage scene right now compared to other markets in the U.S.?
I think that Houston has always been a very saturated market when it comes to food and drink. Lot of different cultures here and a lot of authenticity with that culture that translates into the cuisine, the drinks, whatever, right? And I think that people are recently just starting to realize, like, hey, man, I was like, this place is, yeah, it's hot, but it's the cost of living and the taxes and just everything is so affordable, and now more and more people are flooding in. I can think of a handful of real estate developers that have come into Houston and put up these monolithic, establishments that are not from Houston, and it's just created an even further saturation. Because I think that a lot of these people who are coming from out of town see something that's doing really well, and they cut and paste. And I think that if one or two guys did it, totally fine, right? But it's just gotten to a point where it truly is like quantity over quality. And I there's places like I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see like Houston Chronicles did another article about another place closing, and I'm like, I didn't even know this place was open. Like, what?
Yeah.
So I think that it's probably going to be like that for a little bit longer. I think that it's not the end of the world by any means. It's cool. It's pumping money into the economy. Everyone's gonna be able to eat, and that's great. I think that it's going to teach a lot of these like this generation of like bartenders kind of like a lot of the ropes of the industry, right? Because it's kind of moving away from like diehard Houston, and now it's like, hey, we're kind of opening it up a little bit to everybody. And I think that Houston for a long time was very stuck with liking what they like and nothing else, right? And it's opened the doors now with people coming into Houston. You can't deny that it's opened the doors for more higher end places, right? Like, oh God, I don't know why I'm totally blanking on places right now, but like, I think Musafir's is a great example of that, right? I think, oh my God, I don't know why I can't think of any of them, but just more, not necessarily like culturally ethnic places, but rather like elevation, which I think is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like interactive, elevated kind of cuisine and cocktail programs.
Yeah.
That's cool. What is your favorite bar or restaurant here in Houston right now? If you wanted to name one or top two.
I think for everyday purposes, I really like Muldoon's.
Okay.
It is just such a low key, nice hangout spot, right? Louis is great. The pours are heavy, and it's just a good atmosphere. This is really bad of me. I don't really go out, man. Like,
No, I got you.
I don't go out at all. And and that's the worst part about it. I feel like is that when I do go out, I'm a very rigid. Like, hey, I'll have a Kettle One I'll have a Campari on the rocks. You know what I mean? I'll have a Miller High Life.
There you go.
And a shot of whatever the well whiskey is. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Have you had any notable cocktails lately, or have you made any notable cocktails? Because I know you still do some consulting too.
Just a little bit here and there. Yeah. So this is quite a little while ago. This is when Schwan and I went to Denver last year. We went to Williams and Graham, top 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, top 50.
They're rated. They were ranked.
Yeah. And again, I'm a very rigid person when it comes to drinking, but I was like, yeah, dude, of course I gotta try these drinks. And I thought that their bar program, like, yeah, cool speakeasy, but like that wasn't the accent of the establishment, right? It was the cocktails, and I think that was really great. It was a bar that did incredible seasonal things, and that did that really, I feel like, embraced like that sense of like bar culture, craft culture. And they had this cocktail where it was they used some kind of like a mushroom, like a shiitake like tincture or something, or an infusion maybe. I don't remember what it was, But like I think for the months leading up to it, Schwan and I, whenever we did go anywhere, we saw like a mushroom cocktail on the menu. We're like, we gotta try this. Like it's gonna be so good. And every time it was so bad, and it was like overly earthy, and the umami was overbearing, and we were just like, oh my god, this is. I'll finish this, but not happily.
Yeah.
And then finally at this place at Williams and Graham, we had it, and we were like, oh my god, we found it. Like this is. I don't know how they did it. This is so good. They had another cocktail on the menu where it used like oh god, I think it executed like pumpkin or like squash or something like in a really interesting way with like turmeric and like Pierre Ferrand, and like it was really cool. It was just really really cool because it took advantage of like the things that I feel like people who are in the culinary arts take advantage of, right? What's in season, what makes sense, what balances the drink out, what pairs well with this, blah blah blah, right? Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love William and Grand. They do great stuff over there.
Yeah.
I haven't been. It's been a minute since I've been there. Hopefully next month. We'll see. So talking a little bit about trends, I know you've kind of worked in the lifestyle segment of the industry, being nightclubs and that kind of environment. What trends were you seeing when you were in that area?
I think the reason that A-Life did so well in the nightclub like realm of things, well, let's not even say that. Let's just say camp in particular, right? Was that those guys really understood what it meant to cater an experience.
Yep.
I think doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what social class or tax bracket or any of that stuff. Like, you go out to eat, to drink, to whatever, to party, to turn up, and you just you want it to be an experience, right? You want the service that goes behind it. Like, I can grill a steak at home. I can sear broccolini. Like, it's not the end of the world, right? Yeah. But it's the saying weighted hand on foot sounds bad, but like just that elevated service and that elevated sense of things. Or if it's not that, then at the very least, like a very catered experience to what you're doing there, right? Like a thematic almost. And with camp, like it was that. I remember when they took over Beavers, I was just like, what are they going to turn this into? It's all this wood, it's all this blah blah blah. And that was before they had announced the name of camp, and then they did, and I was like, oh, dude, these guys are brilliant. And this makes so much sense. This was obviously the only way to pivot from this, and like with the way that the menus were designed, the way that the way that the girls brought out the bottles, like with the canoe or with the giant horse, and just whatever. It was all very thematic. It all very much so catered to an experience of, hey, you're going camping. And it sounds like almost a little cheesy, but it was great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, it was very thematic. It catered to that experience, and I thought that was really, really great. And I'm not saying that nightclubs that don't have a theme don't do well, but I think that again, when you have something else, you are something else. Like you get to you add more to what it is that you're offering, right? A bottle of Casamigos is a bottle of Casamigos wherever you go, right? But what is everything that surrounds that, right? This was before my time, but like when they had the nightclub that was like in downtown that was like candy themed or like candy or dessert cake. It was called Cake.
Okay.
And again, very like that thematic, right? All the girls wore pink, like hot pink. They had, the giant martini glasses or whatever, But I think that that's a really, really, really cool thing that they've just captured and done really well over the years.
Okay.
That's
cool. It's definitely not an area I've kind of experimented or met anybody to experiment with. So that's cool to have that insight.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about Levels, and then we're gonna get some nerdy about some syrups.
Yeah.
Cool. So tell us about Levels.
Yeah. We're an artisanal craft syrup company. That was the big focus when we first started. Mm-hmm. So originally we called ourselves Levels of Grandeur because the plan was that we were going to have actual different levels of products, right? So the level one would be simple things, fruit flavors, maybe like light herbs. but that was it. And then the next was maybe a combination of those two, kind of introducing a little bit of spices. And then level 3 was supposed to be like bitters and like, you know, stuff that really incorporated like like heavy roots and, you know, just weird stuff, maybe like shiitake, umami flavors, dashi, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we just realized the logistics of that really fell apart. Kept the name and then just kind of started growing our portfolio, you know, really leveraged a lot of the people that are already new in the industry to kind of give us a chance. And from there, we've grown into, you know, honestly, like after meeting you and kind of talking a lot about the vertical integration in terms of, you know, being able to offer more than just the one thing, right? So like we have our citrus substitute, we have like a fat wash tincture that garnishes, a little bit of consulting, whatever it may be. Like, hey, we can do everything that you need, right? Focus is always and will always be the syrups. And the ancillary items are just, hey, what else can we do for you, right? We want to be the full experience. You know, something that I say to all of my new accounts is, hey, I'm not a big liquor company. You know, I can't come in on a quarterly, bi-weekly, whatever, bi-monthly basis and swipe a card for X number of thousands of dollars, right? But if you want to text me at 3 a.m. with a cocktail idea, hey man, let's do it. Let's get nerdy, right? Hey, if you want me to come in and do a little bit of staff training or a little bit of staff education about whether it's my products or about, you know, some products that are coming in to like spirits that are coming in that, and you don't want an overly biased opinion, let's do it, right? Like Schwan and I very much so prioritize like white glove customer service. It's our defining factor, I feel like. Quality, that's the ante to get in, right? But the service and the hospitality that I feel like we have always gone above and beyond to try to supplement, to try to instill with our clients is everything to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so, do you have? I've seen your brand book. You kind of you have your like set list that you always produce, and then you also have the season list that changes. How do you come up with those season flavors?
So when we first started, we honestly, like, I had a really tough time kind of coming up with like innovating, right? So, you know, a large part of how we grew our portfolio was offering custom work. And, you know, again, for me, coming right off of A Life, it's all the finance. I'm just hyper fixated on the financials of everything, right? Like for me, like cost is everything, and it shouldn't be. Like, you know, that's a very important part of it, but it shouldn't be everything.
Yeah.
And so, you know, a way that we grew our portfolio right off the bat was kind of talking to concepts that were a little bit craftier. Clarkwood was our first ever client, and they're our oldest client to this day.
Yep.
And, you know, being able to bounce ideas off of them and kind of being like, oh, like, you know, yeah, I can do that. And then, you know, regardless of if it does well or not, hey, we'll keep it on our full portfolio for a season. If it does well, we'll keep it. If it doesn't, then, hey, I'm going to custom make this for you and kind of take it from there.
Yep.
And then I try to draw a lot of inspiration from what, like, if there's a demand in the market. So like with the passion fruit vanilla, you know, Bryn over at Sincoro and I were going to do reposado porn star martinis.
Yep.
And instead of having to look for passion fruit puree and looking for passion fruit syrup and then, you know, passion fruit garnishes, but that's insane. We wanted to dial it back to a, hey, 3-touch drink. So tequila, lime, syrup, that's it, right? And then this is kind of goofy, but just using Google, you know, finding seasonal items here and there and just literally just Googling like what pairs well with this and, you know, experimenting with it, giving out a bunch of samples. What do you guys think? It's good? It's not good? No? Yes? Okay, great. And then we scratch it or keep going with it. Yeah. You know?
And all your syrups are hot heat processed, right?
Heat processed, yeah. All natural ingredients, all castor sugar, like cane sugar, no high fructose, no corn syrup, none of that. I only use potassium sorbate for the yeast treatment, and everything else is all natural. All some of them are like certified organic, but not all of them are.
And the potassium sorbate you put in all your syrups just for yeast and not getting any kind of fermentation.
Yeah.
Anything in there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Want to be very careful about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your R&D process? You say when you start developing a new flavor, what kind of batch do you make, or how do you calculate? Do you measure bricks? Kind of give us a process of how you go from A to B.
I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite there yet. I want to be. So I think that a lot of it is just a lot of it is just reading. You know what I mean? I think it's so like a quick aside, but you know, I think when I have like young bartenders talk to me, and they're like, "Oh, like, you know, how did you get to where you are?" It's such an unsexy answer, but and I'm sure you can relate to it too. And it's just like I started reading. You know, I just started picking up books,
Yeah.
and you know, and that really elevates you to the next level because not a lot of people do that, right? And it's so boring, and it again just makes like this very sexy kind of like career into something that's like kind of dorky.
Yeah.
But it's great. You know, I think when we were first developing, what was it? I think I was doing like a pineapple gum syrup, like nothing crazy, but it was my first ever introduction into like gum arabic and gar gum and you know all the different kinds of like magic powders and stuff. It was probably just hours and hours and hours of just reading online articles and trying to do research about like how what's the best possible use and how should you use it and this and that. And honestly, like I think it's one of those things where you have this paralysis of, oh, it has to be perfect and everyone has to love it, otherwise this wasn't worth doing in the first place. And you know, I've have made some tremendous strides in trying not to think that way, and it's like, hey, let's just make something in a more or less like kind of base format, and then kind of adjust accordingly from there, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think the lychee syrup was one of the ones that we had a lot of like, you know, issues with, because I think that lychee, like watermelon, like peach, like any stone fruit, I think our banana is another good example, like where people have this association of what they think it should taste like,
Yeah.
but it doesn't taste like that at all, right? Like watermelon does not taste like watermelon pucker. Like, what are we doing here? And so it was kind of manipulating like concentrations of like how much fresh lychee we were using, and you know, do we maybe kind of dive into like Logan's as well as lychee, and you know, have a little bit more of like a fruit forward, maybe a little bit more acidic, and then diving into like, you know, using citric acid or malic acid, or using different types of like, you know, gum arabic, gar gum, excuse me, to further enhance those flavors. Do we want it semi-rich, double rich, or whatever the case may be? And you know, again, like it costs money, and it kind of sucks that you know a lot of it goes to waste. But I just want to make sure that it is perfect, right?
Yeah.
I wish there was a I wish there was more science behind it, but a lot of it is like, you know, trial and error, and just making sure that like, hey, like this is what people actually want, and it still makes sense financially on the back end for them to use our products in their stores. Yeah.
That's cool. And you also do super juice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of the ones I remember you brought me some of that in a while back.
Yeah.
Your experimentation.
Yeah. So I think that bar waste is obviously just a huge part of any fresh juice program, right? And you know, for the preservation of quality, and I mean, I think super juice is the future. Like I really 100% think it is, and I don't think that the methodology behind production is so foreign that it becomes unapproachable. Like, you know, I think that when you're doing like the little caviar beads and having to deal with the magic powders, then I think it can be a little like, oh, like I don't know what that is, right? And it seems a little daunting. But like with super juice, like, hey, it's peels, acid, pull the oils, and then turn that into your end product, right? Very simplified. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to create a concentrate that you would further dilute. So, you know, save shelf space, save on labor production. That's really the biggest thing. And shelf life. You know what I mean? So after you open it and you make the 73 ounces of juice from this 9-ounce bottle, without refrigeration, you can get 6 weeks shelf life before there's any kind of pH shift.
Okay.
With refrigeration, you're going to get up to 8 weeks. Like, and that's unbeatable, right? Like, just really trying to make it practical to have a quality citrus behind a bar that isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg if the economy crashes or if the cartel wants to hold up limes again. And still maintains, you know, that's still sensible for the financially for the establishment. Yeah.
For sure. And I see you put nutrition facts in your bottles. That was something you had to navigate too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do you have to do? Do you have to send it to a lab?
Yeah, we did. So there's one in Houston that was local, thank God. A&M is the big one that does all the processing and all the different tests. It's pricey, but hey, you got to do it, right? Yeah.
Awesome. And this is right now. You're only really doing wholesale for this, right? You haven't launched for public.
Yeah. So the sublime and so we do a lime, we do a lemon. I really, really, really wanted to step into doing like more exotic citrus, like sudachi, calamansi, yuzu, and then the problem very quickly arose of how do I get these things?
Yeah, for sure. Sourcing the juice in that product.
Yeah. So right now it's just going to be the super lemon and the super lime. Gotta have lime for Houston. You know what I mean? Just margaritas galore.
Yeah. And this has lime essential oil in it. Are you just making an oleo?
Just doing the
Yeah,
oleo.
just doing oleo.
Yeah. Combination of malic, citric, and ascorbic.
Can you walk us through the process of how you do this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's super straightforward in regards to manufacturing the concentrate. You know, it's going to be the same build as doing regular oleos. You know, you're going to have your peels, but instead of doing like an oleosaccharum with the sugar and making a syrup that way, you're going to be using your acids, right? I think this is also a great like lesson to be taught for not necessarily I mean I feel like for all level of experienced bartenders in regards to like just honing your palate a little bit more, right? So like, you know, something that we were very, very like what's the word I'm looking for, concerned with, something that we really wanted to target was, you know, these secondary flavors of like lemon and lime, right? You know, I think that when you ask someone like, oh, what does tequila taste like? Oh, it tastes like tequila. Like, no, it tastes earthy and it tastes, you know, maybe a floral or citrus notes or whatever the case may be. Like, you know, with lemon and lime, it's like, hey, it's sour, but what else beyond that, right? So like with the lime in particular, we wanted to capture some of those like earthy, kind of like almost like bitter notes. So we over process. I actually take more of the pith during production. So
Okay.
then that way you get a little bit of that bitterness. You get a little bit of those secondary flavors. And then that goes in with the acids that I use. Again, I use citric, malic, ascorbic, you know, that gets sat, let the acid kind of do its job and kinds of pulling out all the oils. And then from there, it's just like, again, making any other super juice where you're diluting it. I'm just diluting it at a lower concentrate. And then, but beyond that, though, I am also adding a little bit of acid on the back end for the sake of that shelf stability. And then I'm also doing like a little bit of potassium sorbate again for the sake of the shelf stability, right? Again, this is something that, like, you know, even if you buy like semi-pasteurized fresh or semi-pasteurized fresh, like lemon or lime, like those are still half gallons that are taking up a lot of space wherever you are, right? I think when I was at Lost and Found, we were going through, I don't know, 8 cases of lime juice, those 3 gallon boxes, every week.
Yeah.
You know, and probably like six cases, 5 or 6 cases of lemon, right? Like I wish that something like this existed for those kinds of high volume situations.
Yeah.
I still cared about quality a great deal actually at Lost and Found, and this is like a good bridge for that, right? Yeah.
For sure. I see you do dehydrated garnish too.
Dehydrated garnishes, yeah.
Are you just a traditional dehydrator on this guy?
Yeah, nothing crazy. We're kind of branching into wanting to do a little bit more of like more crafty garnishes. So I'm working on a project right now where I'm going to be doing, I'm sure you've seen it on Instagram or on TikTok, where they have like those glass pears that have been cooked in the butterfly PT water. So I think it's ambitious for us to try to manufacture that on a on a wholesale level, but we're gonna give it a shot, kind of do that, and then dipping them in like isomalt sugars, so that way it has a little bit better stability, like post production. Doing more exotic fruits and just offering it like that way. But I think kind of like doing the isomalt stuff was, so I played around with it for the first time maybe a couple weeks back, and then again like last week, and again it was just really kind of cool stepping into like this totally unknown territory.
Invert sugars are fun.
Yeah.
Definitely something, especially here in Houston when it's really humid, it's better to use invert sugars than regular sugar because it just sucks all that water and turns into this slop of syrup and what was fruit.
Yeah.
So it's cool you're doing isomalt. I like playing with that one.
Yeah.
Have you done any other invert sugars?
No. First time.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
I mean, invert sugars don't react the same to humidity,
Sure.
so they're not as hydrophilic
Yeah.
as normal sugar is. So definitely recommend using inverts
Gotcha.
if you're playing around with them.
Gotcha.
So
Cool.
they hold up pretty well here in Houston. For those of you that aren't here in Houston, it's very humid year round. So anytime you do anything with sugar, it's automatically just going to turn into this like sloppy, syrupy mess after a couple hours, depending if it rains or not here. So that's just candy making.
Yeah.
One there.
Yeah. Schwan, so like when I was playing with the isomalt, we got some just for fun. We got like lollipop like trays, and we're like, let's make some lollipop just for the heck of it, right? And Schwan looked at me, my sister looked at me, and she was like, "Sounds what we're doing now. We're making candy. Like this is the full circle, the full cycle, huh? We're gonna do the syrups, and then we're just gonna move into candy." I was like, "Wow, pretty good though. Like maybe
Another garnish option.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And then this one's new. I know you've mentioned it to me, and I have not tried this one yet. But you're doing tinctures now too, right?
Yeah. So I am just. This actually came from a place of necessity, right? So I was doing a menu. I was helping with a little bit of menu stuff for a concept, and they had the idea of doing a brown butter fat wash with crown apple, and they wanted to do. And I don't know how I didn't take the sugars and just any of it into consideration, but I made a big batch of the fat wash, and then I put it back in the crown bottle and just sealed it nice and tight. And then literally the day of the training, the bottle explodes on the bar top, just glass everywhere. This delicious brown butter crown apple everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, dude, I got to figure out a better way of doing this. And I think that, and this was the solution to that, was being able to do a fat wash like in a tincture format. You know what I mean? So quite literally, a couple dashes of this would help take the place of that fat wash substitute. So the brown butter was our first one, kind of diving into that, again, out of necessity. I've been obsessed with olive oil fat wash martinis.
Okay.
So we have an olive oil tincture as well. And then on the horizon, I really, really, really want to do a coconut one. And just being able to add like literally a hit of coconut into anything.
Just a couple dashes.
Yeah, without having to deal with like an oil-based syrup or having to deal with like, Coco Lopez, which fantastic product, but hey, it can get messy, right?
Yeah. This is cool. Can you give us like a baseline of how you do this? Just like, you don't have to give us your full recipe because I know it's your company's, but how do you you do this, and this?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heard. Well, I have a general idea of how you're going to make it, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Looks pretty clear.
This is yours.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. We're running right on schedule here. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap it up?
No, I sure don't.
Cool. Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Sean, for joining us today. It's a good conversation.
I really appreciate you having me. It means a lot.
Yeah. And then where can people follow you or find you if they have any questions?
At Levels of Grandeur is our Instagram. We do step-by-step video tutorials for some of the cocktails that we do, and then we try to stay engaged with the community as well. If you guys want to follow my Instagram, it's Hope It Doesn't Suck, which is very quickly turned into a catchphrase whenever we're doing R&D. Like, oh man, I hope this doesn't suck. But yeah, man. We're trying to make an effort into getting more into the retail side of things this year. So hopefully Specs is obviously a big one for us. We just got our burnt sugar syrup on Amazon.
Okay, cool.
So we're really excited about that. And again, this year has really just been trying to push for that retail side of things. Cool. Yeah.
So they'll be on Amazon soon if anybody's looking for
Progressively.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.